Wynonna Earp.
Hi, everybody. I'm Sonya, Purgatory Archaeological Society.
Woohoo!
Woohoo! Welcome to the Comic Creator Panel. I'd like to invite up on the stage Tim Rozon. And Papa Earp himself, Beau Smith.
Thanks for having us.
Oh, you're welcome.
So do I need a microphone? I feel like all I hear is me right now. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, these are off. Okay. All right, well, thanks everybody for coming. I hope you guys are having a good first day of your con 2024. So, I feel like there's so many places we could start, but I feel like we should start at the beginning with Beau. As we talked backstage, history is like a big thing of mine. So I'm curious personally, how did you start from the origins of the Earp brothers? Or were you a big history fan? Were you a big, Wyatt Earp fan? Where did that kind of inspiration come from?
Well, with me, being a child of the 60s, but, born in the 50s, raised in the 60s, the whole landscape of television and books, everything was Westerns then. I mean, there were at one point probably 30 Westerns on during, regular television season. So, kids my age, little boys wanted to be cowboys. I mean, I was either wanted to be that or a milkman because I thought a milkman drives that cool 50s truck and drinks chocolate milk all day. I thought that's what the job entailed. I found out that didn't happen, so I still wanted to be a cowboy, but, it's a little hard to do. But that sparked my interest in Wyatt Earp and his brothers. Fighting bad guys was just something that was entrenched in me, and I have two brothers. We're all really close in age, so I would write stories about the Earp brothers. And, of course, during that time period, I was also into what little boy isn't into monsters, what little girl isn't into monsters. And so I would have the Earp brothers fighting the universal monsters, Frankenstein, werewolf, Dracula, creature from the Black Lagoon. And sixth grade, I flunked math because I was too busy writing these stories in class when I should have been doing my arithmetic. I never did get any better at math through school, but I got better at writing stories. So, and I'm fast forward and checking out a lot of it. When I did Wynonna Earp in 1995-96, I knew it had to be modernized for today, so I made her a descendant of Wyatt Earp. I made her a woman because at that time, women at the age of 40 to 45 weren't getting any attention. And so I made her 40 to 45, which was a big deal then because most of them were portrayed as, 20-year-olds. And that worked, but I needed her to have a personality. And the personality that I gave her was a cross between that of my mom, who, if she would have lived long enough, her and Melanie Scrofano and Emily Anderson would have been best friends. You never heard anybody that knew as many cuss words, as much humor, gross things. I mean that in the best way. But my mother was so much like the Wynonna Earp character that Emily created for television that I'd asked Emily in that first season, many times I'd go, "Did you know my mom?" Because it was so much. Our grandmother was totally opposite. She was a saint, and I mean that. She was one of the nice, most family first. Everything was, what can I do? She was a lot like my buddy here, Tim, one of the most selfless guys I know. And that's what Wynonna Earp back then was always supposed to be. A cross between that selflessness, family, friends, and a wild ass. And that's pretty much how that got started. The long-winded version.
No, it's a great version. when did you, or can you talk about when you first learned it was going to be turned into a show? Like, how did that kind of come about? What were your thoughts on that? Did you think it could be translated well?
Wynonna Earp had been optioned twice before. Once by CBS, Peter Linkoff, who did Magnum PI, and another one, MacGyver on CBS. And he was just a young guy in Hollywood at that time trying to, get his thing going. And he had it for a year, nothing became of it. Nice guy, made a good friend. And then a few years later, me, J.J. Abrams, and Joss Whedon all got picked up at Fox. Them for Fringe and Dollhouse, me for Wynonna Earp. Their two got made. There was a strike. There was a new regime. Wynonna did not get made. Because, you got J.J. and Joss ahead of you. Who do you, Beau Smith, you're going to come in last on that. But that was all right, I understood. So few years later, Ted Adams, who, without Ted Adams at IDW, he was the CEO and founder. Without him, Wynonna Earp would have never been made, because from 1996, he was the one saying, this needs to be a TV series, not a film, not a video game especially. He said, this will work as a TV series. And he always pushed. He never dropped the ball and kept pushing when even myself was just going, yeah, whatever. But he told me Sci-Fi was interested in it. 724 was interested in it as a production. And I kept, at that point, it was show me the baby screaming and I'll be, I'm on board. But, I thought it was going to be like the others. But he was calling every week. They're getting serious. He sent in, he goes, I got a Bible, a script of the pilot script I want you to read, this, that. So I started reading. I said, no, this Emily Andras is pretty serious about this. And he said, they're wanting to do it. I mean, I'm cutting a lot of this short too. I looked at audition tapes from Melanie. That's where I first saw Tim here, was in an audition tape, which I can almost recite verbatim now. And it ended up happening. We signed, and I only had 2 minor changes made, when they were very minor. But the rest, because I spent a weekend on it, I said, I got to let these people do what they know. I know comic books, I know graphic novels, but they know television, they know acting, they know directing. And all my peers within comics were going, no, you got to make sure you're writing episodes, that you're going to do this, you're going to get that. And I kept saying, this is their field. Let them do what they know. And from what I read on the pilot script and everything, Emily was the right eyeballs on the right project. She got what I had always wanted to do and enhanced it and layered it and made it like a big onion and put it out there for everybody to eat. And she did a wonderful job. The casting, to this day, I think it's some of the best casting, especially that first season, for a show that I've even been close to. And I'd been close to a few others when I worked for Todd McFarlane at McFarlane Productions and Image back in the day. And I never saw anything like this. And it was right. And so I had those 2 little changes, and I put it in the hands of Emily, 724, Tim, Melanie, and everybody else. And it was Christmas time. They all came through and made me look smart or good, because people go, hey, Beau, that was a good, I go, yeah, it sure was. I had no, I would see the rushes in the mornings every day. Tim and them would film on Monday. I'd see the rushes on Tuesday morning. And I felt like a part of it from the beginning. I mean, they've always been more than gracious to me. Contractually, spell my name right on the contract, send a check now and then, and come up to visit on the thing. But I'm here today. I've always been a part of the family, and that's through their graciousness, and that's always been appreciated. I can even say that Tim here has even been to my house. And we're talking about a town of 1,400 people, where the average age is 50. And
Wow.
It's a deal. Go ahead. Did you have a comment? No doubt a snarky one?
Nope.
Okay. I hope I answered that question and mangled it.
Yes,
for
you did. Yes. I don't want to jump ahead too far, but you mentioned, you know your wheelhouse, and you know that TV was their wheelhouse. So I want to jump over to Tim a little bit with comic writing. I mean, I know you're a comic fan. I know you're a comic fan in the larger multi-fandom conventions we go to, you're always running straight to the tables. But can you talk to beginning to collaborate with Beau on writing and really, your first kind of foray into writing comics, and what was that like as a fan? And then, but also you're writing the characters that you play or the characters you know. So can you talk a little about that? Because that's switching mediums completely.
Yeah, it was the greatest, one of the greatest moments of my life. I'll never forget it, and I mean that honestly. If anybody knows me, knows I'm a super comic book fan, and oddly enough, I was into mostly Silver Age stuff. If you don't know what that is, it's just some of the older stuff. So Beau and I actually read a lot of the same books. So my favorite thing about the Wynonna aspect for me, and this is even before you guys existed, before we knew anything about a fandom or anything, just like I got this incredible part, I really wanted it. It was one of the easiest auditions I've ever done just because I just knew that character. For some reason I had Doc, I was ready. So ready to do it. I was like, get out of my way, get me in the room, let me do this tape. And then I knew it was based on a comic book. And then I got the book, read the book, then I knew Beau was coming down. I was super excited. We got to meet Beau. And then the first place we went was San Diego Comic-Con, but we did LA first, WonderCon.
Yeah.
And we did the comic book stuff, and we did a screening of the movie, and a couple of Beau's friends were there. This will mean nothing or something to you people in the room, but some of those people were like Kevin Eastman. I think the second time I met Beau, he said, my friend's going to come meet us. Is that okay? His friend was Jim Lee. For me, this is like, I know you're like, who? This is Ringo. This is John Lennon. This is like, my mind was blown. Like just the people that I got to be close to because of Mr. Smith, and then meet everybody. I'll never forget that first. The first San Diego where we had already co-written the episodes. And then, I got the call, would you like to write a book, be a part of the book with Beau? And I think, in all honesty, I think I knew in the beginning what it was. It was going to be maybe I'd collaborate a little bit on some story ideas. They'd slap our pictures on it and say, some characters from the book wrote this book. It marketing-wise makes sense. If the show's a hit, people will buy it. It was never that experience from day one with Mr. Smith. He brought me in from day one. He could see how overexcited I was, I think, in the beginning. I remember I had a pitch on a train. He's like, we're going to do this thing. I had like 50 pages I sent him. And he called me and said, hold on a second. You can write, He said, and he's kind of mentored me ever since. And I've just been super, super lucky. And writing the books within the Wynonna world was just one of my favorite moments in life, creating with Beau. I think my wife will attest to it. It was just happy days when we were working together, and I'd get a call, I'd get his pages, or he'd get my pages, and to re-excite him also was some of the best moments of my life, to see someone who's done this for a long time be excited by someone excited was really awesome. So it was an amazing experience.
Yeah. So you've read a lot of comics, you're a comic fan, but was there anything that surprised you about the experience? Was it harder than you thought it would be? Was it challenging in other ways you didn't expect? You only have so many panels, right? And so many dialogue bubbles.
In so many ways. I mean, the first thing that Mr. Smith ever taught me was, I've never broken from it since, and I think it's been the best advice I could give anybody who would want to write into comics. Each page needs to be its own story. It's kind of like the whole story needs to be a story, but each page is a story. So every time I would write, I'd try and wrap up those 5 panels into its own story as its own standalone story. And then also, like he told me, like, you have no budget, which is amazing as a writer. It's like I say, the 3 of us fly to the moon right now. We do. And then you guys meet us on Mars. No problem. If we can draw it, we can do it. But shut up along the way, because we've only got so much space to put the bubbles. So I learned about chopping dialogue and what to say or not say, and when to trust your artist for what they could draw or not draw.
Yeah, logistically, how does that process work as a comic writer? You write the dialogue, you trade it back and forth, then you work with the illustrator to make sure they're kind of communicating what you want, or just kind of logistics-wise, how does that process go?
A lot of it is Tim and I going back and forth, text, FaceTime, email, and the occasions like this where we get to talk about what ideas we have and how we're going to do it. And we don't do official outlines, where it's all written down, this and the other. We are like barnstormers sometimes it's by the seat of our pants in a complicated yet organized way. Again, writing with Tim was like, gee, it's like we've been writing together forever. And I'm talking about being able to collaborate with somebody, because you can't collaborate with everybody if there's not a chemistry. We've got the Silver Age, which was always our base chemical in our laboratory of comic books. But at the same time, when Tim sends in a script, and I hope it's the same way for him, I'm going, yeah, this is the way I see it too. This is the way I would have written it. And to me, that's the highest compliment you can give somebody, is I wish I would have written that, or I feel like I could have, and with Tim's stuff, that's what I'm always getting. And I'm getting professionalism in the fact that he knows how to, even though he works as an actor in something with long, sometimes monologues, he knows how to cut that down into, I've just got 5 word balloons to say this, which would, in a screenplay, would take 3-4 pages. And he, bang, cuts that down. He knew how to do that from the beginning. And there was a shorthand that Tim and I have of not finishing each other's sentences, but in finishing each other's thoughts even before they're spoken. So that was a major thing. And I don't ask to collaborate with a lot of people. I've only done it with Chuck Dixon and maybe one other person, but in the last 10 years, it's been Tim and Melanie on some Wynonna Earp stuff as well. And it's totally different with Tim and Melanie, but it still works on both things. I try to have always played to their strengths, and it's worked out. It's worked out really well. So, but artist, it goes me and Tim. See, you got to rein me in, bud. I'll start jabbering, diarrhea of the mouth. It goes me and Tim. We write the script. Then it goes, and I'm giving it to you real short. Then it goes to the artist. Let's say we have a penciler. He will pencil what we have done in the script, in the comic form. Then it will go to an inker, and the inker comes in and inks and layers and finishes that artwork that the penciler's done. And it always goes back to the editor every time, so that they can see what's going on, if the mistake's being made or if something was left out. And from the inker, it goes to the letterer, who letters all those words in the balloon. When now they do it on the computer. It used to be they hand lettered it. And then it goes to the colorist. The colorist colors everything. That used to be hand done as well, but now it's all done on computer as well. In a lot of our cases, with Chris Evanhuse, we work with him. He does the pencils, inks. Jay Fotis does the colors, and it's done in no time. They can make changes automatically. Part of what I just want to throw it to Tim on that was making a comic book as you expected it, with having to go through that process.
What's so weird, because, and she was supposed to come, I Googled, comic book writing, and this YouTube video came up from 15 years ago, and it was Laura Innes talking about writing a book. And I had no idea, and that she ended up doing one of the first covers we did, and you knew her, and it was like, I was like, this is so crazy. I just watched this video like 2 months ago. No, it wasn't. It was, but it wasn't. And then getting the art was
Christmas.
It was, that the first time I got that art, in some ways was better than like the first time I saw myself on TV. I mean, it just really was. It was something, from your brain, and there it is. It was amazing. The other cool thing for me that I really loved was, Beau is so gracious with just all of it, and like I didn't write Doc Holliday. You know, like I wasn't given Doc to write. If we were working on a story, I was allowed in the whole world. Like, and he let me in there. I was, well, let's move this over here and stick this and see what he does. And, you know, a couple of times I'd, you know, pull the reins. And other times he's like, I love that. I wasn't expecting that. Or, yeah. I just love the whole process. It's really fun. Also, I feel like the FBI probably watches our browser history when we're writing comic books more than any other time. Just, I'm always looking, especially the books we write together. Season 0 especially was just action. I was looking up explosives and how to make a bomb, different types of weapons and guns. Like for sure we were triggering stuff all over. Tanks.
You're 100% right.
Because the funnest also part, which I actually got a kick out of it, he explained to me, for the artists, just explain to them, even though it's obvious to me what something is, if you don't know what it is, pick up an image and send along that image, like a Glock 9mm. Here's the Glock 9mm, I got the picture, put it in there, you know, or whatever it was, a katana, or, you know, normally a weapon.
Yeah, so you mentioned like you're not just given Doc to write, which obviously you could do from the inside out. Like you could do that all day probably, especially if you came right off of playing Doc at some point. Your head's already there. Was it challenging or not, maybe writing for other characters in their voice?
Never once. I mean, I loved this show, guys. I don't know what to tell you. I told you all before we were going to get more, nobody listened to me, but that's a whole other thing. I just always loved this show from day one. I loved the world you created and just to be a part of it. And I had the lucky thing coming into it. It just seemed like every time we wrote together, I had just come off filming. So it's like I never totally even just decompressed from the character. I was still in it. We just did that for 6 months. Okay, cool. We're back in the story. I know exactly how Waves and Hot are talking to each other. You know what I mean? Let's get them with a sniper rifle kissing. That's, you know, like it's like... it all fits. I was already in that mindset of where we were. I've never left it. And I felt like I've been lucky because through the comics, I just kind of always stayed in this world. I never really left, ever.
Sonya, one of the things I would like to add in there that our editor and editors have said about the books when we turn them in, and this goes from the first time, I can't tell what you wrote, what Tim wrote. And for me and TR, that was a super high compliment because that's what you want. You don't want, you know, okay, Tim must have wrote this, Beau must have wrote that, and that's what I like about TR and I working together. It's that camouflage of we're one person. And I've yet to really get anybody that could pick out, you did this, he did that, and that's the best. It's really good for me because I've been doing this 37 years and I'm old. And now I can go, oh, they go, oh, I really like this. It'll be Tim. I go, yeah, I wrote that part. Yeah, sure. His talent and passion has reignited mine. I'll have to say that to where I really enjoy this to no end. And that's why even when we're not doing Wynonna Earp, like we've got a new series coming out from Moonstone Books this year called Apocalypse Agents of Danger. And it's one of these ideas, which Tim and I have, it seems like hundreds of them anymore, of these guys that have the deadliest jobs in the world. And they're from all over, and they're up against this cabal of possible related people that are also looking for these same artifacts, historical artifacts that they can gather together. And it is action, adventure, it's fun. It happens in the 1950s. You've got Olga, you've got Faraday, you've got these guys, there's a bunch of them in this group, and it's like the cast. They're this individual group of unique characters, and we've done this with the Agents of Danger, and Tim and I, we're working on the second issue now. First issue's done, the art's done on it. Travis Smith. Believe it or not, he was West Virginian, not related to me as far as I know. The artist on it in West Virginia, that could be possibly that we're cousins. But it's given us a chance to do new stuff. Melanie and I are doing a new book called Stopwatch at Clover Press. So brand new characters. It's made me want to keep working with them on ideas that we all keep coming up with. And I'll be honest with you, on Agents of Danger Apocalypse, TR here has carried most of the load. He is just really good. I mean, this is something he goes, I can run with this. And he's doing the Jesse Owens. He's running on this. And a lot of the heavy lifting, credit goes to TR. $5, please.
Yeah, I'm selling.
No, I mean that. I'm not going to BS you on that. Even though BS
good.
stands for Beau Smith.
Moonstone.
Well, you guys have mentioned this a little bit. You both like the same comics, or your foundational comics, maybe some of them are the same. Can you speak a little bit to those, maybe some of your mentors, or who's inspired you from your different perspectives on comic book writing, who your influences are?
Go ahead, bud.
Oh my goodness. I mean, it's so tough. Everybody knows I'm like just a Silver Surfer fan, but meeting Kevin Eastman for me really was huge. That Turtle book, when it came out, that's when I was collecting comic books and people thought I was crazy for wanting it. And, you know, I've got the original #2, the little one. I just love the humor in the book too, and just it's I don't know. Beau Smith's a pretty good writer. I don't know if anybody's ever read his stuff. He's pretty good. I have a question. Can I ask a question? So we've got more. I don't even know what I'm supposed to say or not say. Special coming, right? In that format, we've got more Wynonna Earp. How do we get more Wynonna Earp in comic book form, Mr. Smith?
I have, behind the scenes, been trying really hard, working with the new CEO of IDW Publishing, which has done Wynonna Earp and has the publishing rights to do that for a certain amount of time. And things are moving ahead. What I'm hoping for is that the Tubi special will be kind of a Kickstarter with my publisher to go, wow, these Earpers, is, you know, because these are new people, really like this. This is really good. Yeah, we should do some more, you know, Wynonna Earp stuff. Beau and TR should be let loose on this. And so far, with the new CEO, he has done everything I have asked so far and suggested. So it's heading in that correct direction. The editor that TR and I will have is someone I've known for 30 years and I trust. So that's another good point in this. The pandemic kind of slowed things down back then, and we had a few little roadblocks, which we always do. But thanks, you know, we've already proven it with Bad Day at Black Rock, Wynonna Earp. You all supported that to where I think 40,000 was the goal. You all had that beat the next day by far. And there was, what in reality, we should have been in on doing the next one right after that. And all during the hiatus of Wynonna Earp. But because of changes and this, that, the other, business-wise in the scenes, that didn't happen. So, and I'm going to be honest with you, you guys have always had my back and Wynonna Earp's back on the comics. You've always had Tim's in the cast and the comic. If this is something, I mean, I usually don't do this, but you know, this is something, if you all on social media could ask IDW, and of course your nice Earper way that you've always done, civil and nice, we want some more Wynonna Earp. When are we going to get it? That would help out a great deal. That's one of the main things that I've told people today while we were at the show. The difference is I've always had a core audience for Wynonna Earp before the television show of males 15 to 55. When the show started, thank goodness to Emily and the cast, the crew, everyone, all of a sudden I had what I never thought would happen at 60 years old then, a new core audience of 15 to 55 women. That's huge. You don't combine the two without something busting up, and it just grew. So I got an instant family, and everyone understood, and I will always be indebted to that. So what I'm hoping for now, and TR is as well, is we can let IDW Publishing in a nice, civil way. We want more Wynonna Earp. And because if we're going to have the special, and they have the special, if we're going to go into a season 5, this special is going to have to do good. I think it will be supported. I'm no doubt about that. But yeah, I'd love to see the comic book pushed as well with, start some new stuff and merchandising and other things that we all want. I know I would love to have, more Wynonna Earp sweatshirts, T-shirts, a hat. I'm a nut about hats. Tim was talking about that today. Nobody knows a ball cap like I do. It's my signature thing. And I would love to have an ultimate Wynonna Earp ball cap, that said Wynonna Earp on it, or the sign, or just, it's unlimited. So that's my request to you all is to, if you could, that's great. If not, hey, I'll just, keep trying as hard as I possibly can. But I'm only 2 men, TR and Mr. Smith. And you all missed it. When I touched him like that, he flexed.
I
He
did.
did. He flexed.
I didn't. I could have.
Sonya, I'm sorry. We just rattle on.
No, don't apologize. All you have to do is give them a mission, and they'll go take care of it. So you don't have to worry about that. Let's see. I feel like you guys at heart. I mean, obviously you're a writer. You've written. You've got other works, in process other than just Wynonna. Did this kind of also inspire you to write your children's book, or when in that process did you do that?
Guys, that's one line per 12 pages. I'm not Hemingwaying that one. That was just something fun that I had as an idea, just because I'd literally been reading 9 million children books, and I wanted him to have something. I couldn't believe nobody did Johnny Cat, the Cat in Black. It just didn't make sense to me. How could you not make the jump? Johnny Cash is right there. He's just waiting to become a cat. But oddly, what you just said triggered something else. I have been writing other stuff, and I'm working on a show now, and I've been writing episodes. Again, like I said, to his graciousness, I send it to Beau. He's the first person that reads it, other than my wife, who's like, she doesn't want to read my stuff anymore in bed. She's like, I've read this. I mean, it's a different version. She's like, I don't even see the difference. I'm like, fine. But number 2, before anybody, I send it to Beau. I just try and get his opinion. It means everything to me, especially just because I know if he likes it, then I know if I like it. But I know if he likes it, it's good. I know then, okay, then it's our brains are good. Because I also got to the point with pages with him, I knew when I sent good ones. I knew immediately. Like, I knew I was getting a TR. Oh, page 2. And I knew sometimes when I tried to, I worked on it, and it wasn't exactly where it needed to be. He was always had the right way to steer me back to where we needed to be, and when we got to where we needed to be, it's always right. It's very simple. That was the other thing that I've learned the most with Mr. Smith, which helped me so much for writing, is like, when it's right, you know it's right. And I've kind of learned from comics to not half-ass anything anymore. I just kind of learn, no, I know I can get it right. If I just work on it a little bit more, sometimes it sucks to have to redo something you did, but then it's better. It just is. And there was something else I wish I could talk about. I just got to write in a capacity. I used everything that Mr. Smith taught me to do that. And there was other people involved in that, and writers, people who strike and stuff, so they've got cards and stuff at home saying that they're real writers. And not for 1 second did anybody did I know, like, because in my brain, I'm like, I'm an outsider. They're going to know I shouldn't be really in this room. And everyone was always like, yeah, that was great. Paige, that was a great idea with that on. I saw you did. The callback was really nice. And in my brain, I'm like, this is all stuff he taught me that I just stuck to my guns. And I was like, oh, shit. Beau Smith might have turned me into a writer. I was very proud of it.
So now that you've got your writing chops, if you could write for anything, like that is currently in publication or past publication, free reign, what would you choose to write for?
Well, luckily enough, that's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I mean, the Agents of Danger is that. For me, anyway. It's like, it's just what we love, is action and adventure. I don't know a better way to say it. Like, just imagine we've got a team with like Indiana Jones and Laura Croft and everybody on the same team.
Love that.
Like we just got a bunch of, they're not the Avengers because nobody has superpowers. But like Olga is our Siberian muscle and she just cracks everybody's two heads together. Like she's the muscle. You know, we've got this guy from Mexico City, Caesar, who builds all our tools and the gear and stuff that we're going to use as you know what I mean? So everybody's got their role, you know? We've got like the crazy Johnny Ohio, who is like, yes, Johnny Utah from Point Break, if you've ever seen it. It's my Easter egg in there, Johnny Ohio. Stuntman. So they'll do some of our crazy stuff, and the whole team works together, and we have Chin Su, and we have all these different people from all over the world. They come together to create the Agents of Danger to then fight the evil cabal. It's just so fun to live in that. If I could have created anything, that's what it is. It's just like all of my favorite stuff, our favorite stuff, boom. And then the cool thing is we put it in the 50s because get rid of cell phones and computers, and it just makes it so much, you know, you got to be in a submarine now, and how do we get them out of the submarine? Yeah, very cool. And the other thing I love more than anything is Wynonna Earp. So if we get to work on Wynonna Earp, like, sign me up. I'm good. I don't want to do a Silver Surfer story. That's my, you know, I just want to read that one.
Yeah.
I don't want to be a part of that one. I'm literally doing the things I want to do.
There are so many more Wynonna Earp stories to be told, not only on television, but in comics as well. Emily has left a tunnel open to the future. In comics, we've got, again, that endless tunnel to the future of stories. I mean, I'm not kidding. I'm 70 this year. I could write easily for another 70 just on Wynonna Earp as far as storylines and different characters, and would hope to do so. So there's the well, not to be anything about, I know Doc doesn't like the well, but the well is not dry on either part. And Tim's already attested in a couple of our conversations we have on the phone, we've got literally probably 5 to 6 more ideas that we've already thought, yeah, we'll get to that, we'll do this, do that. We could, and hopefully I put a good spin on this, we could hopefully entertain you all for a long time to come just with the stuff that we've got in our screwy heads. And they're all different, they're all fun, they're all got action, they've got entertainment. That's probably the best way I can think of. The thing that Tim recently let me read that he did, I was laughing out loud. I was like, okay, what's the next? And very pissed off at the end because I wanted more and there wasn't any more at the end, either till he does more or whatever. But that was the only part I was none too happy with. And then that's an honest assessment because that's how I felt, was like bang, bang, bang. And okay, give me more, pusher man, you know, that kind of a thing. You know, the first one's free, junkie. That's what I felt like when he sent that to me.
We only have a couple minutes left, but I'm going to ask a question you've probably been asked before, but I'm curious what your answer would be. Beau, I know you're already a character in the comic. But if you could be a character in a comic as yourself, or maybe write a new one, maybe modeled on yourself, would you have a superpower? If so, what would it be? Or would you just be the human? Would you just be the straight guy?
TR?
Oh, go ahead first.
Oh, it's hard for me to honestly answer that because in the fact that I learned when I first got into comics and I did my first one, It was Beau Leduc and the Dogs of Danger. And it had every friend, family member. My insurance agent was a bad guy. I had everybody involved in that because I actually believed this is the last thing. They're going to find me out. And they're going to find out, oh gosh, this guy's awful, this is terrible, and never let me write a comic book again. So I said, I'm going to take advantage of this time and put everybody I know so that if this is all I ever do, everybody's in it and everything happens. And the main character was Beau Leduc, real man. And it was based off me, John Wayne, my dad, anything that, when I was growing up, thought a man should be. And it was humorous, it was fun, it was action adventure. So I owned my own likeness then. Then when Wynonna Earp came along, there was Smitty, her longtime black badge mentor. So again, I modeled that after Beau Smith because again, if you can't own your own likeness, what's the use of creating something? It's not even, I wouldn't even say it's ego. It's writing what you know. I know me better than anything. My wife Beth can tell you that. I can't walk by a mirror without going, let's take a second look. It's that kind of, even though I'm always disappointed, but it's that, I'm having fun. And to me, that's having fun. Tim probably gets a little ticked at me sometimes because we've had characters in books that resemble him a little bit. I'm trying to pass that legacy of egomaniacs to him, but it's a hard sell for him because he's really kind of, no, Mr. Smith, I don't know if they want to see me that much.
Is that what I sound like?
Yeah, pretty much.
So was Cobb also, it's kind of you too, right?
Cobb was Johnny Quest grown up. That was what Cobb always was to me.
Looks like a buff Beau Smith.
I wish it looked like a buff Beau Smith. Cobb actually looked like Laird Hamilton, the deep.
Yeah.
I mean, if you really want to. No, I knew I couldn't tread in those waters. He was.
If anybody's never seen Johnny Quest, you should go watch it. Mr. Smith always also got me on Johnny Quest, my son's new favorite show. It's the best cartoon out there, Johnny Quest.
It's a great.
The original, so good. Just can't beat it within the first 2 minutes. Scuba bad guys come up.
Oh yeah. And
anytime anybody has an eye patch, I'm in. You get a bad guy with an eye patch and a turtleneck, I'm in.
A dog gets barking. It's got everything.
I'm in.
So to answer her question, what character? I mean, what would you?
I mean, I had it. It's like the first book that we wrote together, and then I saw myself on the cover of it. I'll never forget it. And it was at San Diego Comic-Con where our show was coming out, and we were at the IDW booth, and I had just met Jim Lee, and I'm hanging out with Stanley. We saw at breakfast, and I'm sitting next to Mr. Smith, and Earper showed up for the first time, and it's like, what else do you want me to say? I'm good. Like, thank you. I know I've been blessed and lucky, and there's nothing else to say except thank you so much. I'm ready. You can take me. Let me stick around for a little bit longer. I've got some parenting to do, but other than that, I can't ask the universe or the big guy for anything else. Mm-hmm. Like, that was it, and then not for 1 second have I taken it for granted then, or will I now. If I get the call saying we're doing another Wynonna book, man, I'm just going to be super happy and cannot wait to do it. And we're lucky we get the Agents of Danger. I think we're going to start recooking up that one for a bit too. I feel bad because I get busy, but we seem to get it all done within that time too. So.
Well, I know Earpers are excited about that too, and excited any new Earp content we can get, comic books included, and the new stuff you guys are writing. So I think we have to end it there, but let's thank our panelists for joining us and talking about all of their talents they share with us.
Thank you.
And thank you guys for coming. Thank you, Sonya.
Yeah,
thank
of
you
course.
guys. Read Sonya also, good
Yeah.
comic.
Thank you. All right, guys, thanks so much. We have another panel starting in about 15 minutes if you want to stick around.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.